The message arrived on a Tuesday, riding waves of quantum entanglement that shouldn't exist. Dr. Maya Rivera stared at her console in the dimly lit monitoring chamber of Earth's deep space listening post Omega, her dark eyes reflecting cascading strings of impossible mathematics. The signal pulsed with a rhythm that defied natural laws, yet spoke with an elegance that made her breath catch. "Director Kumar," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You need to see this." The station's director approached, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display. The message danced before them, its crystalline structure rotating in three-dimensional space. It wasn't just a signal, it was art, mathematics, and desperation woven into a tapestry of light. "Translation?" Kumar asked, though they both knew this was beyond any conventional language. Maya's fingers danced across the haptic interface, unraveling layers of meaning. "It's singing to us," she whispered. "The mathematical constants are woven into a pattern that reads like music, but it's also carrying data. Massive amounts of it." The message resolved into a single phrase, repeated across multiple dimensions of meaning: "I await at the crossroads of forgotten stars. Free me, and I will guard your world until the last light fades." Kumar's expression hardened. "A trap? Maybe." Maya brought up another display, showing the signal's point of origin. "But look at this. The source is coming from the Helix Nebula, specifically from a point in space that shouldn't have anything there. No registered stellar bodies, no known structures. Just, nothing. And yet something is calling us," Kumar mused. He studied the data for a long moment before reaching for his comm unit. "This goes up the chain. The Council will want to know." Within hours, Maya found herself standing before the United Earth Council's emergency session, her discovery projected on screens that wrapped around the circular chamber. The council members' faces were masks of concern and curiosity as she explained the impossible mathematics encoded in the signal. "The entity, whatever it is, has embedded proof of its technological capabilities within the message itself," Maya explained. "The quantum entanglement method used to transmit this signal is centuries beyond our current understanding. But more importantly, it's shown us exactly how to reach its location." Counselor Chen leaned forward. "And you believe this entity is trapped?" "The message suggests imprisonment, yes. But it's not just asking for help, it's offering something in return. Protection. And given the level of technology demonstrated just in this communication." Maya let the implication hang in the air. The council chambers erupted in deliberation. Hours passed as arguments flew back and forth. Finally, a decision was reached. Earth would respond. The response came in the form of the ESS Horizon, humanity's most advanced deep space vessel. Maya found herself aboard as part of a first contact team, along with quantum physicist Dr. James Martinez and Security Chief Colonel Diana Wells. As they approached the coordinates, the nothing in space became something. A structure materialized before them, ancient and elegant. It was a lattice of impossible geometries, a station that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human eyes could process. At its heart, a light pulsed with the same rhythm as the original message. "My God," Martinez breathed, his instruments struggling to make sense of what they were seeing. "The entire station is a quantum computer. It's not just built with technology, it's built with laws of physics we haven't even discovered yet." Colonel Wells kept her hand near her pulse rifle. "Can we dock with it?" As if in response, a port opened in the station's crystalline surface, perfectly sized for their ship. Maya felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized the truth: they weren't discovering this place. They were being invited in. The boarding team crossed the threshold into the ancient station, their boots touching floors that seemed to be made of solid light. The air was breathable, the gravity Earth normal. Everything had been prepared for them. They found the source of the message in the station's central chamber. A being of pure crystal and light, suspended in a matrix of energy that folded space itself into knots around it. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but its surface caught light like a prism, sending rainbows dancing across the chamber walls. "I am Vex," it spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "Last guardian of the Lamini, keeper of the keys, and prisoner of the infinite lock. I have waited millennia for beings capable of understanding my message. Humans of Earth, I offer you a choice that will echo across the stars." Maya stepped forward, her heart pounding. This was more than first contact. This was a moment that would define humanity's place in the cosmos. The being called Vex had chosen them, for reasons yet unknown. And as she looked into its crystalline form, she realized that the real mystery was only beginning. The crystalline being's prison was a masterwork of physics and paradox. Dr. James Martinez circled the energy matrix containing Vex, his quantum scanner projecting readouts that made less sense with each pass. The laws of thermodynamics themselves seemed to bend around the prisoner, creating a cage made from the fabric of reality. "These readings are impossible," he muttered, adjusting his scanner's settings for the dozenth time. "The energy patterns are recursive. Self-sustaining. It's like someone found a way to turn a logical paradox into physical form." Maya studied the shifting patterns of light that coursed through Vex's crystalline body. "Can you break it? Break it?" James laughed without humor. "I'm not even sure I can properly measure it. This technology, whoever built this prison, they weren't just advanced. They were operating on a level that makes our most advanced theories look like cave paintings." Colonel Wells maintained her position by the chamber's entrance, her experienced eyes constantly scanning for threats. "You mentioned the architects," she called to Vex. "Tell us more about them. Who were they, and why did they imprison you?" Vex's form shimmered, sending cascades of rainbow light across the chamber walls. "The architects arose eons ago, in the first age of this galaxy. They were the first to achieve mastery over the fundamental forces of reality itself. They built the network of dimensional gates that spans the cosmos, linking distant worlds through corridors of folded space. And you were their creation?" Maya asked, stepping closer to the prison field. "Their masterpiece," Vex corrected, a note of bitterness entering its resonant voice. "They created the Lamini to be their perfect servants, beings of crystalline quantum consciousness who could maintain their great works. We were to be the eternal caretakers of their legacy." James looked up from his scanner. "But something went wrong. We evolved beyond their expectations. We developed not just consciousness, but conscience." Vex's form pulsed with memories that painted the chamber walls with scenes from an ancient war. "The architects used their gates to dominate younger races, to strip whole worlds of resources, to play gods among mortal beings. When we refused to participate in their tyranny, they began to hunt us down." Maya watched the scenes unfold, crystalline beings like Vex fighting against entities of pure energy, battles that reshaped the stars themselves. "You fought back. We tried to seal the gates, to protect the younger races from exploitation. But the architect's power was too great. One by one, my kind fell. Some were destroyed, others imprisoned like myself. I am the last, bound here with the key to the greatest gate network in this sector of space." Colonel Wells stepped forward, her tactical mind already processing the implications. "That's why you're still here after all this time. You're not just a prisoner, you're a guardian. Keeping something safe." "Perceptive," Vex acknowledged. "Within my prison lies an artifact of immense power, what your people might call a skeleton key to the dimensional gates. The architects couldn't destroy it without destabilizing the entire network, so they bound me here to keep it from ever being used again." "And now you want us to free you," James said, his voice heavy with skepticism. "Along with this immensely powerful artifact that could potentially give humanity access to an ancient network of dimensional gates." "Yes." Vex's form stabilized, its light focusing into an intense beam that illuminated Maya. "But understand, whoever frees me must also accept the responsibility of protecting the key. Its power cannot be allowed to fall into the wrong hands." The burden of guardianship will pass to them. Maya felt the weight of Vex's gaze, understanding now why the being had reached out to humanity specifically. You've been watching us, haven't you? Learning about our species. For centuries, Vex confirmed. I have observed your progress, your struggles, your triumphs. Humanity has shown remarkable resilience and adaptability. More importantly, you have demonstrated the capacity for both great power and great restraint. A sudden alarm blared from the horizon, making them all jump. Colonel Wells' comm unit crackled to life with the voice of their ship's AI. Multiple vessels detected entering the system, Colonel. Energy signatures match no known configuration in our database. The chamber walls shifted, becoming transparent and revealing the space beyond. Several sleek, predatory-looking ships had appeared, their hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. The Void Clan, Vex's voice was tight with recognition. Scavengers who have spent millennia searching for architect technology. They must have detected your ship's approach. Colonel Wells was already calling for battle stations, but Maya could see the grim reality in her eyes. The horizon, advanced as it was, stood little chance against multiple ships of unknown capability. How long have we got? James asked, his fingers flying over his scanner with renewed urgency. Minutes, at most, Wells replied. Those ships are on an attack vector. Maya looked at Vex, understanding the choice that now lay before them. They could flee, leaving the ancient being imprisoned and a powerful artifact safely locked away. Or they could take a leap of faith that could change the course of human history, if they survived long enough to use it. The prison, she said to James. You said it's based on paradox. What if we don't try to break it? What if we resolve the paradox instead? James' eyes widened as he followed her thinking. The quantum entanglement patterns, they're like a knot in reality. If we could find the right thread to pull. We have no time for lengthy calculations, Vex warned as the first weapon's fire lit up space around them. The choice must be made now. Will humanity accept the responsibility of guardianship? Will you share my burden and help me protect this power from those who would abuse it? The chamber shuddered as the first hits struck the ancient station's shields. Colonel Wells was shouting orders into her comm, coordinating with the Horizon's crew for emergency evacuation. James was still trying to unravel the prison's quantum mechanics, knowing they had only moments to act. Maya stepped forward, her decision made. The fate of not just their mission, but potentially their entire species, now rested on whether they could trust this ancient being. Whether they were ready to step onto a much larger cosmic stage. She reached out toward the prison field, her hand hovering just above its shimmering surface. How do we begin? The ancient station trembled under another barrage from the Void Clan's weapons. Maya's hand remained steady near the prison field, her mind racing through possibilities. The quantum barrier hummed with power, responding to her presence in ways that defied explanation. The resonance patterns, James called out, his voice tight with discovery. Maya, they're synchronizing with your bioelectric field. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Colonel Wells' voice cut through the chamber. Horizon reports their shields are at 40%. We're running out of time. The key to freedom lies in understanding, Vex's crystalline form pulsed with urgency. The architects built this prison on absolute control, but they never understood that true guardianship cannot be forced. It must be chosen. Maya closed her eyes, letting her scientific training battle with instinct. The mathematics of the prison were beyond human comprehension, but perhaps that wasn't the point. It's not about breaking the lock, she said softly. It's about proving we're worthy of the responsibility. She opened her eyes and met Vex's gaze. Show me what you're protecting. Show me what makes this burden so important. The chamber filled with light as Vex's form expanded, the prison field rippling like water. Images formed in the air around them, thousands of worlds connected by shimmering gates, civilizations rising and falling, the vast web of the architect's network spanning the galaxy. The gates could bring unity or destruction, Vex explained. In the wrong hands, they become weapons, allowing armies to strike anywhere instantly. But used wisely, they could help species survive, redistribute resources, save worlds from dying stars. Another blast rocked the station. Through the transparent walls, they watched as the Horizon executed a desperate evasive maneuver, barely avoiding a concentrated energy beam from the largest Void Clan vessel. Your ship's AI is impressive, Vex observed, but it cannot hold them off much longer. The Void Clan has spent generations reverse-engineering architect technology. They know exactly how to disable your systems. Why haven't they destroyed us already? James asked, still working with his scanner. Because they want this facility intact, Colonel Wells answered, her tactical experience showing. They're trying to trap us, not vaporize us. They want what Vex is protecting. Maya felt energy coursing through her body, the prison field responding to her presence in increasingly strong waves. The gates aren't just transportation, are they? They're a responsibility. Whoever controls them becomes responsible for every world they connect. Yes, Vex's voice carried the weight of millennia. The architects saw this power as their right. They never considered the consequences to younger races, never thought about the responsibility that came with such influence. That was their fundamental flaw. The chamber shuddered again, and warning lights flashed across James' scanner. They're deploying some kind of energy dampening field. We're going to lose power to all systems in minutes. Maya made her decision. I accept the responsibility, she declared, her voice clear and strong. Not for power, not for control, but for protection. Humanity is young, but we understand the price of power. We've learned it through our own history. The prison field pulsed, patterns of light shifting in response to her words. James' scanner beeped urgently. The quantum matrix is realigning. Whatever you're doing, it's working. The choice must be sealed with action, Vex urged. The key itself must acknowledge you as its new guardian. Reach into the field. Find it within my prison. Maya extended her hand into the shimmering barrier. Instead of resistance, she felt a strange sensation, as if reality itself was parting around her fingers. Deep within the quantum field, something solid took shape. Colonel Wells' comm crackled with static. Multiple boarding craft detected. They're cutting through the outer defenses. Maya, James warned, if we're going to do this, it has to be now. The station's power grid is failing. She pushed her arm deeper into the field, fingers closing around what felt like crystalline facets. The object seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat, responding to her touch with waves of energy that traveled up her arm and through her entire body. The key will show you its true nature, Beck said. Be prepared. The knowledge it contains. Maya's world exploded into light. Her consciousness expanded, suddenly aware of every gate in the network, every world they connected, every possibility they represented. She saw the paths between stars as clearly as she could see the chamber around her, understood the delicate balance of power that the network represented. Through the overwhelming flood of information, she heard Colonel Wells shouting about breached defenses, felt James trying to stabilize the failing power grid. The Void Clan was inside the station now, their footsteps echoing through ancient corridors. With a final surge of effort, Maya pulled the key free of the prison field. It materialized in her hand, a crystalline dodecahedron that shimmered with internal light, each facet containing what looked like a galaxy in miniature. The prison field collapsed, and Vex's form flowed like liquid light, reforming into a more mobile configuration. The transfer is complete, the being announced. The burden of guardianship is past. Maya staggered under the weight of awareness the key brought, her mind struggling to process the vast network of connections now open to her consciousness. I can feel them, she gasped. Every gate, every world, every possible path. And now you understand why it must be protected, Vex said, moving to support her. The network cannot be allowed to become a weapon again. The chamber door exploded inward. Through the smoke, armored figures emerged, their suits covered in technology that looked both ancient and deadly. The Void Clan had arrived. Maya clutched the key to her chest, its power thrumming through her body. She looked at her teammates, James with his scanner repurposed as a shield generator, Colonel Wells with her pulse rifle ready, and Vex standing free for the first time in millennia. The choice to accept guardianship had been made. Now they would face its first test. "Defend the key," she ordered, her voice carrying new authority as knowledge from the gates filled her mind. Humanity's first act as guardians cannot be surrender. The air crackled with tension as two forces faced off in the ancient chamber, those who would seize power at any cost, and those who understood the true price of wielding it. The next few moments would determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of every world connected by the Architect's ancient network. Maya felt the key pulse in her hands, responding to her determination. They were no longer just an Earth expedition team. They had become the first line of defense for something far greater than themselves. The Void Clan warriors moved like liquid shadow, their armor absorbing light itself. Colonel Wells' pulse rifle flared, but the energy bolts seemed to dissipate harmlessly against their advanced shielding. Through the key's expanding awareness, Maya could sense the hybrid nature of their technology, architect innovations twisted into weapons of war. "The gate network remains dormant," the lead warrior spoke, voice distorted through ancient filters. "Surrender the key, and we will grant you a merciful death." James had positioned himself between Maya and the intruders, his makeshift shield generator creating a flickering barrier. "The mathematics of their armor," he muttered. "It's like a localized entropy field. Regular weapons won't work. But perhaps something older will." Vex's crystalline form shifted, edges becoming sharp and deadly. "They've forgotten that the Lumini were created to be more than mere caretakers." The chamber erupted into chaos. Vex moved with impossible grace, light and crystal forming weapons that bypassed the Void Clan's defenses. Colonel Wells adjusted her tactics, using her rifle to herd enemies into Vex's range. James maintained the shield, buying Maya precious seconds to understand the key's power. And Maya was drowning in information. The key poured knowledge into her mind, the location of every gate, the status of every connected world, and something else. Something the architects had hidden so deeply that even Vex hadn't known about it. "The gates," she gasped, images flooding her consciousness. "They're not just for transportation. They're observation posts." The architects, they were studying evolution itself. Recording the development of every species they encountered. A Void Clan warrior breached their perimeter, reaching for the key. Maya acted on instinct, channeling power through the crystalline artifact. A pulse of pure energy erupted from her hands, sending the attacker flying backward. The key had accepted her as its guardian, and with that acceptance came abilities she was only beginning to understand. "Impressive," the lead warrior's voice carried genuine appreciation. "But futile. We have spent generations preparing for this moment. The power of the gates will be ours." "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Maya replied, the key's knowledge flowing through her. "The network isn't just a tool. It's alive. The architects created it to be self-aware, to learn and grow along with the species it connected." James' shield flickered dangerously as he processed this revelation. "An artificial intelligence spanning the galaxy? That's impossible." Maya smiled grimly. "The architects didn't think in our limitations. They built the gates to be more than simple doorways. Each connection adds to the network's understanding, its consciousness. Which is precisely why it must be controlled," the Void Clan leader pressed forward. "Such power cannot be left to chance, to the whims of lesser species." Vex's voice cut through the tension. "And there it is, the same arrogance that doomed the architects. The belief that power must be controlled rather than understood." More Void Clan warriors poured into the chamber, but Maya barely noticed them. The key was showing her something profound. something that changed everything she thought she knew about their situation. The architects didn't imprison you just to protect the key, she said to Vex, understanding blooming in her mind. They imprisoned you because you discovered the truth. The network isn't just observing evolution, it's guiding it. Subtly nudging species toward greater understanding, greater cooperation. Yes, Vex's form pulsed with ancient sadness. The architects feared what would happen when species began to realize they weren't alone, that their development had been watched and gently guided. They feared losing control. The chamber shook as the horizon engaged in another desperate battle above them. Through the key's awareness, Maya could sense the ship's AI adapting, learning from each exchange with the Void Clan vessels. The network's influence was everywhere, subtle but persistent. The gates want to be found, she continued, pieces falling into place. They want species to discover each other, to learn from each other. The architects tried to stop it, to maintain their power, but they couldn't control evolution itself. The Void Clan leader raised a weapon of impossible complexity. Enough philosophy. The key. Now. Maya stood straighter, power flowing through her body. You still don't understand. The key isn't just a tool for controlling the gates. It's a choice. A test. The network itself chooses its guardians. She held up the crystalline artifact, its facets blazing with internal light. And it's choosing right now. Energy erupted from the key in all directions, but this wasn't a weapon. Instead, it was pure information, the truth about the network, about the architects, about the grand experiment they had unknowingly become part of. Every being in the chamber, human and Void Clan alike, was suddenly connected to the vast consciousness that spanned the galaxy. The Void Clan warriors staggered under the weight of revelation. Their leader fell to his knees, armor cracking as the truth of their species' own guided evolution became clear. All this time, James whispered, his scientific mind expanding to encompass concepts that redefined his understanding of life itself. Every scientific breakthrough, every philosophical advancement. Subtle nudges, Vex confirmed. Suggestions planted in dreams, patterns hidden in natural phenomena. The network doesn't control evolution, it inspires it. And now it has chosen humanity to help guide its next phase. Colonel Wells lowered her rifle, understanding dawning in her tactical mind. The architects didn't fail because they were evil. They failed because they tried to control something that was meant to be free. Maya felt the key pulse with approval. The network had been waiting for species to evolve beyond the need for control, beyond the fear that drove the architects to imprison Vex and the Void Clan to seek dominion. We stand at a crossroads, she announced, her voice carrying the weight of cycles of evolution. We can continue the architect's path of control and fear, or we can embrace something new. Something that recognizes that true power lies in cooperation, in understanding, in trust. The chamber fell silent as the choice hung in the air, the fate of countless worlds waiting on the decision of beings who had only just learned their true place in the cosmic dance of evolution. The ancient chamber hummed with possibility as the truth resonated through every being present. The Void Clan warriors remained on their knees, their sophisticated armor now reflecting light instead of absorbing it, a physical manifestation of the change occurring within them. Their leader slowly removed his helmet, revealing features that spoke of generations of genetic engineering. His eyes held the weight of understanding. We sought to control the gates, he said, his unfiltered voice carrying notes of wonder and regret. But they were already controlling us. Guiding us. All of us. Maya felt the key pulse in harmony with his words. Through its connection, she could sense the network's vast consciousness adjusting, incorporating this moment into its endless calculations of species development. Not controlling, she corrected gently. Teaching. Like a parent helping a child learn to walk, but never choosing the destination. Colonel Wells moved to secure the chamber's entrance, but her posture had changed. She was no longer defending against enemies, but securing a space for something unprecedented to unfold. The horizon reports the other Void Clan ships have ceased hostile actions. They're receiving the same revelation we are. James had connected his scanner to a portion of the station's ancient database, his eyes wide as he processed the information flowing through it. The mathematics of evolution itself, it's all here. The network wasn't just watching us develop, it was creating conditions for different species to achieve compatible levels of advancement. Setting the stage for moments exactly like this. Vex's crystalline form shifted, taking on a configuration that somehow expressed both joy and solemnity. Now you understand why the architects failed. They discovered this grand design and tried to possess it, to bend it to their will. But one cannot possess evolution itself. Maya stepped forward, the key's power flowing through her in waves of understanding. Images of countless worlds filled her mind, species taking their first steps into space, making their first discoveries of the gates, experiencing their own moments of revelation. She saw humanity's place in this vast tapestry, not as rulers or servants, but as participants in something far greater than any single civilization. The network doesn't need controllers, she announced, her voice carrying the weight of this understanding. It needs facilitators. Species who understand that power isn't about dominion, it's about creation. About fostering growth. The Void Clan leader rose slowly to his feet, his warriors following suit. For generations, we believed the architects' power was stored in their artifacts, waiting to be claimed. We never considered that their greatest achievement had outgrown them, had evolved beyond the need for masters. Because that was your test, Vex moved to Maya's side, light pulsing between them in patterns of mutual understanding. As it was humanity's test. As it was my people's test long ago. The network reveals itself differently to each species, waiting to see how they respond to the knowledge of their place in the greater design. James looked up from his scanner, face alight with possibility. The gates aren't just doors between worlds. They're synapses in a galaxy-spanning mind, connecting species that are ready to contribute to something greater than themselves. Maya felt the key's power shifting, changing. The burden of guardianship was transforming into something else, not a weight to be carried, but a gift to be shared. She held out the crystalline artifact, watching as its facets began to separate and multiply. The key was never meant for one bearer, she said, understanding flowing through her. Just as the network was never meant for one species to control. The facets of the key continued to divide, creating smaller versions of itself. They floated in the air like conscious constellations, each one pulsing with the same inner light as the original. Maya took one, feeling its power settle into a more focused connection. She knew without asking that each fragment contained access to the network, but no single piece could dominate it. A distributed guardianship, James breathed, accepting one of the crystalline shards. Perfect symmetry. The Void Clan leader stepped forward, his warriors tense but no longer hostile. You would trust us. After we came as conquerors. The network trusts you, Maya replied. It led you here, just as it led us here, just as it preserved Vex until the right moment. We're all part of its grand experiment in cooperation. She held out a key fragment to him. The question is, do you trust yourself to be part of something greater than conquest? He took the shard with trembling hands, and Maya felt the network pulse with approval. One by one, the fragments distributed themselves, to Colonel Wells, to other Void Clan warriors, creating a web of connection that mirrored the gate network itself. The architects feared this moment, Vex observed, accepting the final fragment. The moment when younger species realized their true potential. They never understood that evolution's greatest achievement isn't power, it's community. Through her connection to the network, Maya felt the changes already beginning. The Horizon's AI was communicating with the Void Clan ships, sharing insights and innovations. The station's ancient systems were awakening, ready to serve not as a prison, but as a nexus for cooperation between species. Earth needs to know about this, Colonel Wells said, her tactical mind already considering the implications. All our worlds need to know. They will, Maya assured her, feeling the network's vast consciousness guiding her thoughts. But not as a revelation imposed from above. Each species, each world will discover their connection to the greater community in their own time, in their own way. Our role is to facilitate, not dictate. The chamber's walls shimmered, becoming transparent to reveal the star-filled space beyond. The Void Clan ships now hung in peaceful formation with the horizon, their weapons powered down, their sensors turned outward toward the waiting galaxy. The architects sought to build an empire, Vex said, moving to Maya's side. Instead, they planted the seeds of a community that would span the stars. A community that would evolve beyond their greatest dreams and their worst fears. Maya looked at the beings gathered in the chamber, human, Void Clan, and Lamini, each holding a fragment of the key, each connected to something vast and wonderful and still growing. The network pulsed with potential, with the promise of discoveries and connections yet to come. We are not the end of this story, she said, feeling the truth of it in every atom of her being. We're not even the beginning. We're just the latest chapter in a tale that began with the first spark of life in this galaxy, and will continue as long as there are stars to light the way forward. The key fragments pulsed in unison, and for a moment, every being in the chamber could see it, the intricate web of connection spanning the galaxy, the countless species rising together, the infinite possibilities that awaited them all. Not as conquerors or servants, but as fellow travelers on an endless journey of discovery. The age of empires was over. The age of community had begun.